Hello, you are listening to the OmniTalk Fast Five, brought to you in partnership with the A&M Consumer and Retail Group, Firework, SPS Commerce, and Sezzle. Ranked in the top 10% of all podcasts globally, the OmniTalk Fast Five is a podcast that we hope makes you feel a little smarter, but most importantly, a little happier each week too. Today is August 24th, 2023. I'm your host, Dan Mazinga.
And I'm Chris Walton.
And we are here once again to discuss the most important headlines from the past week that highlight how the physical, digital, and human elements of retail are coming together to shape the future. Today, Chris, we are back from vacation.
We are sort of back. Yes, one of us is more back than the other, but yes.
We are in London.
We're in London in your hotel room
on
actually.
Location.
Yes,
in the hotel room. But we are also
the Marriott. Where is it? The Marriott? What?
Regency Park.
Regency Park.
Or
yes.
Regent Park.
Yes.
We're getting our London on here.
Yes. And near Hampstead, which I guess is the posh area of London.
Yeah, it is very posh. I want to move here
He's out
immediately. Oh my God. Well, today we are joined for their regular monthly appearance by our good friends at the Alvarez and Marcel Consumer and Retail Group. We have a newbie today.
Yes,
a noob, as the
dressed
kids
up
say.
For the equation, or for the occasion,
and the equation.
Whoa.
We have Ben Loden and Chad Lusk. Guys, welcome to the OmniTalk Retail Fast Five. How are you doing?
We're doing great. And for those watching the video version of this, I think we're setting new ground here. I think this is the first time that we have two A&M CRGers doing the podcast together in the same room at the same time. So it's new ground for us, but we're excited.
We're like Olympic correspondents right here. Like
we are.
Katie and Matt going to the other two. Who are they?
I don't want to be Katie. I don't want to be Matt. I don't like that.
Maybe you're Katie. Maybe I'm Matt.
Maybe I'll be Brian Gumble.
Okay,
I'll be
that's
Brian.
better. That's much better.
He hasn't been canceled, right? I don't think so.
I think he's still good. I don't know. But let's take a second and have each of you guys introduce yourselves. Ben, you're the newbie. Let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about you and your background.
Yes, no, thank you so much for having me today. Really excited to be, on this podcast today. And, to me, this is normal, it being in the same room. So This is my first time. This is day to day. But as I said, Ben Loudon, I'm a senior director. I'm here at CRG. Been working alongside Chad and the rest of the group for about a year and a half now. Always been, a career consultant. So, no operator experience there, but I've always focused on kind of cost takeout programs on both the CPG and retail side, with a heavy focus really in household care, most recently food at theme parks. So if you got any chicken tender questions today, I can answer anything about a chicken tender.
He knows a lot about nuggets, man.
Oh, we might have some questions for you, Ben.
Well, I'm happy to answer, but it's been about me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, welcome to the show. Chad, you're a long time Fast Fiver, 5 insightful minutes. In fact, I have to say, when I was my favorite, we used to call Chad the Lusker on here.
Lusker. Yeah.
But
we still call him that, actually.
Well, you do.
In private.
You do. But instead of the Lusker, Chad, have you ever had your name autocorrect to Chad Lust? Because I was just working on an edit of our last 5 insightful minutes, which everyone should check out with you, and it kept autocorrecting to Chad Lust, and I was like, maybe the Luster is a better.
It made it kind of steamy, man. Yeah. It was made for a steamy 5 minutes.
It's like very Danielle Steele. But Chad, tell us a little bit about you, and first and foremost, have you ever been called?
First and foremost on the nickname, fantastic. I have had I've received mail addressed to me for now literally decades with Chad Lust, L-U-S-T, Lush, L-U-S-H, right? All of that. So, I guess I'm ready and willing to accept all versions and variants of nicknames. So, Chad Lusk, L-U-S-K, managing director with A&M CRG out of Chicago. So prior to joining A&M, multi-time chief strategy officer, chief marketing officer across CPG and retail. I spend most of my time here at CRG working with clients on large scale commercial transformations, usually kind of front end commercial aspects of growth strategy, marketing, sales effectiveness.
Excellent. Awesome. Welcome back, Chad.
Yeah, it's good to have you,
Thank
Chad.
you. Thank
Chad,
you.
lush, whatever it is, whatever works today. All right,
This
well,
is new for me. Gonna take this to the team right
Oh,
after
God.
this.
Ben, we got to get a new name for you. We got
Don't worry, we'll find one by the end,
by the
Ben.
end. By the time this is over. So, all right. Well, should we do the show?
Let's do it.
All right.
Let's
Well,
get to it.
before we get to the headlines, I want to say that excitement is in the air as our friends at Grocery Shop gear up for the highly anticipated Meetup Selections Week. On Monday, Meetup Selection Week kicks off, and thousands of retailer and brand execs from across the global grocery ecosystem are going to start reviewing other attendees' profiles and selecting the people with whom they want to meet at Grocery Shop. Half of all attendees will pick who they want to meet on Monday. So if you want eyes on your profile, and
who doesn't?
You got to grab a ticket now.
You don't get to put those like pictures of you on top of a mountain or with holding a fish, like they do on Tinder. Like you got your profile has to stand out on its own.
Is that what the kids are doing these days? Putting fish in their profile
know.
pictures? But by the way, also the action doesn't stop with just networking. Grocery Shop has also finalized their impressive keynote lineup with the recent additions of the presidents of Hy-Vee, who will deliver a joint keynote, and the president of Mars Pet Care, a key player in pet nutrition. They'll be joining chief execs from Frito-Lay, Kroger, Unilever, Tropicana, Ahold Delhaize, and more. And let me emphasize, Ann, the event is what I would call unmissable.
Without a doubt.
You can grab your ticket at groceryshop.com/OmniTalk. So my advice is hit pause right now if you're listening. Grab your ticket like Ann and I did a long time ago. We've been planning this for like 9 months. I planned it for a year, basically. We go every year. Then come back and then let's do the headlines after you hit pause and get your ticket at groceryshop.com/OmniTalk. All right, in this week's Fast Five, we've got news on Aldi acquiring Winn-Dixie and Harvey's supermarkets, Etsy debuting its very own baby registry, Trader Joe's executives saying they will never, ever, 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 ever put self-checkout machines in their stores. Ever. Nuh-uh. Amazon
Caught you off guard there with the outcast. Sorry.
Amazon calling it quits on a number of its in-house brands. Hey, we're in London. It's all good. But we begin today with big earnings news, and particularly the news coming out of Dick's. And
news coming out of Dick's. Yes, that's what we're going to start with. Headline number 1. That's right. Dick's Sporting Goods stock dropped precipitously this week. According to CNBC, for the first time in 3 years, Dick's fell short of Wall Street's estimates on the top and bottom lines. Dick's Sporting Goods reported a profit drop and cut its earnings outlook for the year after seeing an uptick in retail theft and slow sales in its outdoor category over the last quarter. Chief Financial Officer Navdeep Gupta said that shrink hurt gross margins by about 85 basis points. This, it should also be noted, also marked the very first time Dick's has referenced shrink in a press release in almost 20 years. Said Gupta, quote, "The biggest impact in terms of the surprise for Q2 primarily came from shrink. We thought we had adequately reserved for it. However, the number of incidents and the organized retail crime impact came in significantly higher than we anticipated, and that impacted our Q2 results as well," end quote. Chad, we're going to you first. Here it is again. What we're talking about theft. What should Dick's and others in the retail industry be doing about this problem?
Let me take a step back at first, just to talk about the dynamics of how they're talking about it as a consequence of financials, right? So, first of all, organized retail theft is real. It's happening. There's no doubt about it, and it's increasing. But overall perspective, like this feels like a bit of an easy out on an earnings mess, right? So as we're looking at the numbers a little bit, like from a quarterly results standpoint, like revenue is actually up 3.6%. Net income was down 23%.
Right.
Even if you look, quarter to quarter, look at the last 26 weeks, sales are up 4.4%. Net income was down 5%. So those spreads are pretty wide. And they were saying shrink was 0.85 percentage points per the CFO statements, right? So it's a portion of something that's larger at play going on with Dick's Sporting Goods right now. It's one quarter, let's not overreact to it, right? But it does call into question kind of, I don't know, the sustainability of Dick's, business model right now. Maybe, I'm not sure. I love Dick's Sporting Goods. My kids love walking it, looking at shoes, looking at all the things. I equate it to walking to Circuit City to look for CDs back in the day. Not a good
yeah.
comparison, right?
I don't know. It was
so,
pretty fun.
So I don't know what's happening, but it's clearly something more than theft. Okay. So now what are retailers doing about theft? Right now, retailers are going a lot of kind of classic tactics here. So you're talking guards at high theft stores, limiting on-shelf availability for high shrink SKUs through boxing or other kind of physical means and deterrence from associates. Considering centralized services and security operations centers. Still TBD. I would encourage, as we're encouraging our retail clients to do, is like, let's make sure that first and foremost, we're doing the more important thing, which is how we focus on keeping associates safe in the stores. Because, what I'm seeing from a Dick's financial results standpoint is, that's not what tanked the stock price 24%, right? There's more at play. So make sure the business model's right, keep your employees safe. And, let's continue to work on some of those physical deterrents.
Yeah. Chris, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, I think that Chad always articulates everything really, really well. I mean, to me, the only other answers I would put in here, I think, in terms of combating the shrink issue and the theft issue too, because they kind of go hand in hand in a lot of ways. One, I'd be looking at RFID across the board, especially if you're an apparel retailer like Dick's, and maybe they have already, but if they haven't, they should be. But then, then from there, that at least gives you more confidence in the theft number versus the loss number, because you can understand in real time where your inventory is. You don't have to wait. There's talk in the article about, they doing the inventory count once a year, them trying to do that more often. Well, RFID would help with that to some degree. And so then, from there, I think then you have to look at other creative things like Chad mentioned, like no one loves the experience of putting everything behind glass. Like I was in the Walmart in San Clemente, California the other day. I couldn't even shop it because everything was under glass. There was no one around to help me, which is another problem in retail too, because so much of the store labor has been pulled out of the operation. There's no one to help to get those products for you when you find that. So I think you got to start looking at other models. Like I think Costco's a great model. You have the club membership where they know who you are. It requires you to kind of identify yourself to come in, identify yourself kind of when you're going out too. I wonder if we don't start to see that play out more often throughout retail, especially because with loyalty programs being so much more prevalent than they ever have been in the past. I think there's a natural proclivity for consumers to be willing to adopt that from their retailers, especially in light of what's going on. So that would be my take.
Yeah. Ben, anything you'd jump in and add here?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's also, a messaging play here with it's typically been talked about as shrink, and now you see Dick's, you see Foot Locker and others using the word theft. And we've seen it in the headlines, and I think there's this element of speaking to the local municipalities where they're trying to get that word out there a bit more. Low impact right now, margin, but instead of having to change anything, can they, start talking about it more and, get to the local municipalities to do something like we're seeing in New York.
Yeah. I mean, I think you guys all bring up good points. One being, I think this shrink problem has definitely been like the new weather excuse for companies and earnings reports, because it doesn't place blame on necessarily anybody in the organization. And I think to Chris's point too, there are so many ways that companies, for a multitude of reasons, should be making more investments in inventory visibility to understand where things are, to really cross that line, to make sure what's actually just being put out in a curbside pickup order in duplicate on accident, like what's actually happening to each of the items within your store. And then I think lastly, the impact that the outdoor industry did have, like that was this pretty significant thing. We have people revenge traveling right now, and they're going on big trips and flights. And I think it's just like everybody looking at digital grocery last year and this year, like the pandemic made people have to do outdoor things. They couldn't travel on airplanes. And I think that probably did have a bigger impact on the Dick's outdoor business, particularly that they also mentioned in the earnings report. So lots to get your head around here. But again, shrink being top of mind for a lot of retailers as we get these earnings reports back.
Yes. A lot of talk in the media about shrinkage. All right. Headline number 2. Aldi has acquired approximately 400 stores in Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Louisiana, and Mississippi through its acquisition of the Winn-Dixie and Harvey's supermarkets banners. According to Chain Store Age, Aldi plans to evaluate which Harvey's and Winn-Dixie locations will be converted to the Aldi format. It's not clear how many will actually convert, but Aldi's U.S. CEO Jason Hart said, quote, For those stores we do not convert, our attention is that these continue to operate as Winn-Dixie and Harvey's supermarket stores, end quote. And he also went on to add that the transaction supports our long-term growth strategy across the United States, including plans to add 120 new stores nationwide this year to reach a total of more than, 2,400 stores by year end. That was a quote. Chad, let's go back to you for this. How big is this announcement, and what does it mean for the grocery landscape?
All right, I'm going to put on my best Chris Walton hyperbolic statement.
Wow.
Yeah,
please.
let's do it.
All right,
is
do it.
The biggest headline in grocery in 2023.
Wow.
Wow.
And I just did the insightful minutes with you guys, and we talked about Walmart's expansion of ESLs and Kroger and screens and digital tech. Like, I think Aldi expansion here, and in particular being on an acquisition path, is bigger, right? So
why?
If you're Publix, like, is there anything scarier to your market supremacy in the Southeast than Aldi, right? One of the fastest growing retail grocers making inroads in the Southeast. Like, no one's been able to do it. Right. Even Kroger's approach has been to do, through Ocado, doing like an e-com only type perspective. Yeah. Like, they have had it, right? And so now Aldi gets this physical footprint, down in the Southeast, and an offering for a value conscious consumer, which has not really been there in a material in a strong way. And, as far as Publix nerves, right? Like, any loss in kind of the segment here will impact their own expansion plans, because, their cash cow of the Florida market is effectively what has the ability to, fund them going forward. And that could be tough to stomach. I think there's some probably real issues happening in the Publix boardroom. I think this is enormous.
Wow, fascinating. I was expecting you to say it was big, but I didn't expect you to say it was going to be that big. That's really interesting. Anne, what's your take on this?
I agree with Chad. I think this is a bold move by Aldi. I just was walking through one of the urban shopping centers here, and Aldi just went in and put a gigantic brand new store right next door to the Sainsbury's here on one of the high streets. I was talking with somebody yesterday who said Aldi is actually a real estate company that also happens to sell food. So they are going hard on acquiring stores. They're really trying to make sure that they have coverage anywhere and everywhere possible. And I think that it makes a lot of sense. I mean, I don't know if you guys have been in a Winn-Dixie. I've been to the ones in Florida, but let me tell you, there is nothing lacking there, or nothing that you will lose by losing those butcher departments, the seafood, the bakery departments, and converting to a full-on Aldi store. Really? Where you're just getting that in prepackaged goods. And I think that taking over, I know they're not taking over all the Winn-Dixies and converting them, but I think converting those two Aldis makes a ton of sense. Plus, I think then you have the option as Aldi to expand some of the other pilots you've been doing in the U.S. with curbside pickup, even with delivery with partners like Instacart, and using those stores, those larger Harvey's and Winn-Dixie stores, as micro-fulfillment stores so that you can do more ship from store. I think that there's a lot of potential once they get into these markets. So I didn't think it was going to be as big as Chad, but I do think there's a ton of opportunity there.
Yeah, no, that's interesting too. I mean, it's kind of crazy. You think of Aldi, and there's all the interesting about the grocery landscape too, which this could be a harbinger of more to come, Chad, which when you put that hyperbole around it, it's really fascinating. There's all these regional gentlemen's agreements that are in throughout that landscape. And now you're saying, okay, well, we're going to let Aldi come into Florida now. We're just going to give over these existing brands. We're going to let you acquire them and see what happens. And as the rest of the regional grocers start to feel the pressure of doing grocery in the 2023, do we start to see more of those regional dynamics start to break down? Does Aldi become the benefactor in that breakdown later on? Who knows? But Ben, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I see it as a really exciting experiment for Aldi as well. Right, Winn-Dixie double, if not more, the footprint, and same with Harvey, right? So they are now entering and growing in this new market. Okay, what are we going to do with double the space?
Yeah,
that's a humongous question. Are you going to sublease some of that? And then what is private label? So if you're 90% private label, they're 20% private label. I think it's a bit of a playing ground for them to say, all right, we're going to do this. We're seeing the opportunities. This is the next one. There's going to be more. Let's figure it out now. And then similarly on the back end, smart to not convert them all right away. And, my assumption is it's figuring out the logistics. Is it going to go to their own distribution, just open that brand, gigantic distribution center, figure that out slowly, and then perfect this model, and then, go after some more. So I think it's fun for both those elements.
Yeah, that's gonna be one of my questions too. Do you guys at A&M see this as kind of just the political thing you say right now, where we are evaluating how many to turn over to the banner, but to the Aldi banner, but ultimately the goal here is to turn as many of them as possible and turn them into the Aldi brand? Do you think that's the play here? How do you guys look at that?
I would be surprised if it's not.
Yeah,
personally.
Okay.
Like I said,
yeah.
Do you really need Winn-Dixie around still? I want somebody to argue the pro Winn-Dixie point, because.
Careful, Ed. I had Wawa fans coming at me last time.
Well,
so you
that's
might get
fine.
Winn-Dixie lovers.
That's a good point. That's a good point. And so, I grew up in the Northeast. I worked in the C-store industry. Wawa is a great example. There is such an emotional connection to Philadelphians, and now they've expanded all the way down to Florida as well, to the Wawa brand and its service. I don't have the data to back it up, but I can't imagine that the consumer emotional connection to Winn-Dixie is what it is for Aldi, because the Aldi emotional connection is very high.
Yes, people are buying Aldi clothes to wear around.
My grandfather, 96-year-old, still talks about Aldi.
Yes.
Every time I see him, I'm going to see him next weekend. He's probably going to talk about Aldi. I swear to God.
Aldi's. I think they call them Aldi's. The olds call it Aldi's.
They do, actually. He does. You're right. All right, let's keep moving.
Let's go to headline number 3. Etsy has debuted its very own baby registry, Chris.
Yes, I'm excited about this, Ann.
Retail Dive, Etsy unveiled the registry service after discovering that shoppers on its website have searched for a baby item every second.
It's kind of crazy.
For the past 6 months. With the registry, current and expecting parents can list the personalized infant, children, and nursery items that they desire from Etsy's international artisans. Ben, we're going to go to you first on this one. No-brainer move here, or is there anything Etsy and its customers should be watching out for with this move?
Definitely. And as a person with no children, I feel like the expert here, but
you definitely should lead on this one.
Yes, Ben. It's good that we asked you to go first. Yes.
It enables me to step back and think of the customer journey here.
I mean, Ben, you're purchasing so many newborn pacifier knit crocheted things.
You're probably buying things off registries, right?
Yeah. My Etsy purchases have been large tables, furnishing my home, but I'll step into this one as well. I think, for them right now where they are, it feels very no-brainer. They're struggling this year because they had such a boom during the pandemic, right? Everyone's shopping online, wanting personalized items. But everyone's shopping by category at that time, right? And I think, you see their wedding registry and now the baby registry. They're taking moments rather than, things you just may need. You don't really know where they fit into as a shopper. So taking wedding registry, the logical next step, I guess, is baby registry, right? In that journey. And it's getting more people on the site, not just for customized, items, but for experiences that are, big impacts to their lives. So I think it makes sense to them. It'll be interesting what's next. The registry might be tapped out now. So what are those next, moments they're going to be able to kind of include in this, this new shopper journey they're laying out.
All right.
So net, you like the move. He likes the move.
Yes. Chad looks puzzled.
Yeah, quizzical.
Yes. What
No,
are you in agreement, or are you just so blown away by someone who doesn't yet have children who is able to so beautifully articulate why this is a great move from Etsy?
I think you're just capturing the dynamic of having two of us on the screen at the same time, right? I was like, what do I do with my hands while Ben is talking? I don't know. Well, no, it's funny that Ben said that, right? Because I'm on the opposite end, and my kids are 15 and about to be 13, and so much to the chagrin of my wife years ago, I'm not in the I got out of the baby market a long time ago, so I'm no more of a consumer to this than Ben is. I guess I'm in the no-brainer camp as well, because I don't understand necessarily the downside risk of doing it, right? It's actually kind of good timing because legacy players like, Bye Bye Baby and,
Right.
babies are they're kind of in states of transition. So,
Great
hey,
context.
come to us. So I don't think it hurts. What's interesting though, right, is, my only watch out is more from an expectation perspective than, some business model risk. Like, I was looking up some numbers last night because, again, I'm out of the market, right? Like, over 50% of expecting parents actually visit brick and mortar stores to research or test products before putting it on their online registries, right? Etsy obviously doesn't have that. You're talking car seats and strollers and, all that kind of stuff. Plus younger demos. So Gen Z or whatnot, approaching these ages, right, are registering for fewer items, and they're more likely to create just one registry than multiple for the fear of appearing to be asking for too much.
Oh.
Right. So, when we did this back in the day and you'd go to, Bed Bath and Beyond and Crate and Barrel and Macy's and all of that, if you're going to consolidate to one place, are you going to consolidate at a place where you have these more like customized goods, which is kind of, more of the assortment of Etsy? So I'd be cautious, I guess, of the upside, but I guess where's the risk?
I love what Chad's saying there, though, because I agree. I think this is giving you the opportunity, though, to ask for the things that you actually want. Like, what costs the most for people who are new parents who are investing in the baby? It's the nursery. It's all the stuff, like the customized art that you're getting. It's the bedding. It's the rugs. It's all the decor, the things you're sticking on the wall. Like, those are things that you can get now from Etsy as a gift, which to me is like right up there with getting diapers and formula.
Right up there, huh?
It is. Like, I can't believe it took Etsy this long.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's a good move. I agree with you guys 100%. I agree with you. I do think it's a no-brainer move, but I do think you also have to be careful if you're Etsy too, because as you guys know, I think I've said this on the podcast before, baby was my favorite business I ever ran at Target. I loved it. I would get back into it in a heartbeat if the opportunity ever came by, because I just love it that much. But I think it's a no-brainer because people, like you said, Ann, they want that one-of-a-kind item, and you can get that at Etsy. But you have to be careful if you're Etsy about how large you let this registry universe become.
Yes.
Because you don't want to be buying a crib from Harry the artisanal handyman either. Like, there's a lot of product risk and product safety risk that comes from that. So you've got to be very careful with how large you let that registry item universe become, or else you could be in a world of hurt from lawsuits down the line if you're not careful. And it's hard to keep tabs on that type of stuff. And the average consumer might not be aware of the fact that you don't want to be buying your crib from the guy down the street.
Yeah, I wonder what the regulations are. Like, do you sign a waiver when you purchase that stuff? Like, I won't hold Harry responsible.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of, I doubt it. Like, there's a lot of potential legal issues that could come into play here if they're not smart about this. So hopefully they are. Hopefully they've been thinking about it, because they've probably been selling these items on their site for a while. But selling them on your site versus selling them through a baby registry has a different attachment to it as well. So who knows?
Oh boy. All right.
So I just ran on that parade a little bit. All right. Headline number 4. I'm in London. It's raining. I'm raining. All right. Headline number 4. 2 Trader Joe's executives confirmed this past week that its store will never include self-checkout machines. This is my favorite headline of the weekend. According to Retail Dive, CEO Brian Paulbaum and President John Basilone made the statement in a recently recorded company podcast called Inside Trader Joe's. Catchy title. Both are very new to the roles. Paulbaum just took over the role last month after replacing Dan Bain, who had led the company for 22 years. And here are some snippets of what they had to say on the podcast. On self-checkout, President Basilone said, quote, "We're not trying to get rid of our crew members for efficiency's sake or whatever I don't know what the reasons are people put self-checkout in," end quote. And this is my favorite, they also even managed to take a shot at robots.
Why not?
While discussing product innovation, Basilone also said, quote, "That's where excitement comes from. It's not crazy new ideas like the robot in the aisle that answers questions and that helps to clean up spills," end quote. So Chad, my question for you is, why would executives make a statement like this, and would you have advised them to do so?
Yeah, I mean, I knew we'd have this headline. I'm glad, but I was.
Oh, this was blowing up on social media, man. It was.
I know. I was kind of hoping it didn't come up, but no, I'm glad it is, because it's a really good conversation, because here we have, so we were actually having a conversation at dinner the other night about Trader Joe's, right? Which was interesting, right? Yeah. And how maniacal they are about their value proposition. Like, they know how they make money. They're very intentional about it. they operationalize that through every aspect of the shopping experience. And, you know, we talk about emotional connections to retailers. Like, that's great. You want to have a very clear value prop that's successful, and that's admirable. And so I get caveat, but like, I get the point of view, right? And because their
100%.
business model, like service is a key component of their value proposition, right? They're huge on customer engagement. Their cashiers, unlike checking out at a Kroger or Safeway, right? Like, they engage, they discuss and upsell products, where, you know, they're pushing their uniqueness around innovation, and a move to self-checkout harms that value proposition. I get it. However, your question of why would you say this and would we encourage it?
Yeah.
Does this not reek of like Kodak talking about we're never going to go to digital photography?
Right.
Like, that's the only thing I could think of as I'm watching the, you know, listening to these quotes and reading this, right? Which is like, man, it just sounds out of touch. And it's interesting because it's a dynamic of consumer interests conflicting with a really successful value proposition. At what point do you lean into the future, even though it's the way that we've always done it? So no, I wouldn't have advised the statements, but you know, that's where I'm at on it.
Yeah, it seems a little chest bumping too. You know, I think the way it was said too. But and like, what do you? And my question for you too is the things that Chad just described there, and what Barcelone and the CEO are talking about too, is that really real too? Like, do you go in there, and does that differentiate Trader Joe's for you at the end of the day, or is it really the products that are differentiating Trader Joe's for you?
I think it does. I mean, I think that's what they're standing on, right? They have all own brand products, but now that you have way more grocers that are investing in this, I don't think that's a key differentiator for them as much as it was before. And you have, like, I don't think that everybody wants people to talk to them about the quinoa stuffed grape leaves and how good they are. I would say it's more conversation than it is upsell in most experiences.
I've never just noticed it personally.
Really?
No, I mean, like, I just go check out. I've never like been like, oh, this is a great checkout experience. I really love talking to Fran at the checkout.
Oh, I thought you meant
Trader
nobody's
Joe's.
like talked to you about the products that you're putting in your bag. It's like almost annoying to me when it happens.
I guess I've just never noticed it.
But I think the issue that I have is that you're talking about, you want to expand locations, number one, and expand product innovation, and you're like, you don't consider that self-checkout might be a way to still guarantee a good store experience when you're trying to blow up to so many stores in the next year. And I think you should never say never especially when it comes to something that's as efficient as self-checkout, especially with labor issues, product innovation being only as much as is humanly possible at some point.
Yeah, you're right. There's no good from ever saying never. And my other part that was funny in the story, I didn't bring it up the quote, but he also like slammed self-checkout machines. Like, he tried to use one. He's like, I'm in the industry. And I couldn't figure out how to use it. I was like, dude, it's like the most easiest thing possible right now. They've improved it so much. But Ben, you got to get in here too, man.
Yeah, I think as an advisor, I would agree. I wouldn't say someone to say, this hard line. However, and this might tear the room apart, as a consumer and a Trader Joe's lover, I absolutely love this statement. It's Trader Joe's. It's a very different store. I mean, I'm in Brooklyn. I have a Whole Foods. I have Trader Joe's, and they are completely different. I have self-checkout availability at my Whole Foods. Trader Joe's, I know exactly what it is, and I'm coming from the experience angle. The food's going to be different in each, but they've got this consumer that loves that knows that's used to that'll wait in these crazy long lines that wrap around the store in the middle of cities. And this is just all a part of that. So I think it's a statement for their consumers to say, hey, we're not going to change. We're going to keep having this differentiated look. I think it's also a really nice statement for the employees at a time where there's a problem in the labor force. It's hard to hire right now in retail. And so think about that. Maybe they don't really mean it for 10 years from now, but in the 5 years, 2, 3, I mean, you now work there, you've got that assurance from the, CEO and president of your organization, which I think is a huge piece.
I buy the employee statement. It's actually a really good point. The consumer, like, really, like, as a consumer, you're like, I love the fact that, like, what Amna's describing, like, they're hassling me on product, and I love standing in lines. It just seems like that model is good for Trader Joe's is not necessarily as good for the consumer. But I mean, I guess you shop more than me. So.
Yeah, it's a love-hate, right? Y'all are in the UK at the moment. Marmite, right? Their website back in the day, Marmite.com, do you love Marmite or do you hate Marmite? If you click you hate it, it kicks you out. And it's a play on this yes no, and so we can debate about it as much as you want. We're going to probably stay on our sides of the table.
But the employee side is interesting though, because there's also a lot of union trouble at Trader Joe's right now too, which we hadn't talked about. So I think that's important. I think the universality of the comment is interesting in of itself. Like to say never, we're never going to do this. It sounds like a move that the CEO is trying to make a statement out of the get go, probably for the employees more than anybody. I agree with that. But you got to be careful with those statements because, like, I made one on the last show, Ann, about Wawa and kiosks, and I mentioned Wawa. I got flooded with emails and comments from that. Like, dude, you don't know what you're talking about. They work great in that environment.
Yeah,
we use them all the time. I was like, okay, you're right. I should never make such a grand claim about anything. You've always got to qualify it. And then the other point though that bothers me is the robot thing. Like, why take the time to demean robots? Like, what does that have to do with anything? Like, there's a reason people are using them. They work for some people. They may not be right for you, but that doesn't mean you need to like throw shade at them. In my opinion,
doubling down.
That seemed like a bridge too far for me. But anyway.
Well, he doubled down. He's saying that and he means it. He is going to go to his grave talking about
Barcelona or Barcelona. I don't actually know how he says his name, so hopefully I got it right in one of those two pronunciations.
All right, let's go to headline number 5. Amazon is reportedly cutting dozens of its private label brands from its assortment. According to the Wall Street Journal, Amazon has decided to eliminate 27 of its 30 clothing brands, such as Larkin Row, Daily Ritual, and Good Threads, leaving only 3 brands: Amazon Essentials, Amazon Collection, and Amazon Aware. Amazon insiders also told the Journal that Amazon also plans to drop some of its private label furniture brands, phasing out Rivet, that's one, and Stone and Beam, another one.
Bland is also a good name for that, man. Actually, honestly, when you read them.
Once its stock of those items is gone. The changes are in line with a broader effort by Amazon over the past 2 years to curtail unprofitable businesses and products. I'm getting tongue-tied today.
are.
And the Wall Street Journal also added that the private label moves also address the scrutiny of the competitive practices around Amazon in-house brands that has vexed Amazon for years. Ben, we're going to go to you. Is regular scrutiny the real issue here, or is it just a window dressing excuse?
I do think it's window dressing. I think it's, leveraging the scrutiny they under, using that as the guise to, skirt by admitting they made a mistake. They don't make that admission often, if ever. If we look back to 2014, I mean, they launched private label with Essentials quite some time ago. But when you saw Target introduce it in 2014, very methodical, an all-in store. And Target today, great private label, brand. Shoppers know it. Shoppers can feel it. Shoppers can, will continuously buy it. And where Amazon ran into trouble, right, was setting this huge target. I think it was 10% of net sales by 22. You've got that's quite ambitious. But then expanding too far, 45 brands. No one being able to find it on the website. Inventory issues, can't sell it. Now they're just running through all this inventory. Who knows how long that's going to take? So they're admitting defeat here on this play. And interestingly, I think this is going through the headlines a bit. They are introducing some of their Whole Foods private label brands to the marketplace, though. So products that you can test in store, right? Because that's how private label really works for consumers. And now I can go get my olive oil that I use every day through Amazon. That's how it should work. And so, throwing the white flag, but continuing down their path.
Yeah, Chris, what are your thoughts here?
100% agree. I think that's just a smokescreen. Yeah, without a doubt. It's got to come down to sales more than anything, because if it was regulatory, why would you keep any of the brands?
Yeah.
Right? Like if that's going to be the excuse, you get out of everything. You know, it makes no sense. And you wouldn't keep the things that you're selling the most of, because that just makes the regulatory case that much stronger, in my opinion. So,
and with the highest margins.
Yeah. So right. And it allows you to pit yourself against everyone, and you have all that data behind you, which is also a whole nother topic. But and the other thing, it's very concentrated in apparel. Yeah, which goes along with that line of thinking too, because Amazon continues to struggle in apparel. Like, I've not heard of. I mean, I don't shop Amazon apparel that often, but had any one of us heard of any of those brands that you mentioned? And to Ben's point, how would I know about them? Because I'm not marketing them in any way I can see them, like I am a Whole Foods private label brand when I'm walking the store or through an advertising campaign or something like that. So
Yeah.
it's got to be that.
Yeah. The problem, though, it gets to what Ben was saying earlier, is that apparel shopping on Amazon still sucks. Like it's a terrible experience. There's no discovery that's easy to happen.
I'm not the hyperbolic.
It is seek and destroy. I need white undershirts, which is why they're keeping Amazon Essentials, because that's the white undershirt. I need gold hoop earrings. That's what I'm going to look at Amazon for. That's Amazon collection, their jewelry, competition. And then I need sustainable fill in the blank here, whether it's t-shirts or baby towels or whatever it is, and that's Amazon aware. Like they are keeping the brands that you are going to comp shop, that you are going to go to Amazon for to find, and you don't care about like discovery of product or inspiration in an outfit. It's just, I need white undershirts. I know I can go. I'm getting Amazon Essentials. Also, what happened to Amazon Style? And is this going to impact that at all? Like, wasn't that built to like support all of these 30 different clothing brands? I don't know.
That was an attempt to do what Ben was talking about.
Right.
But yeah. I mean, we haven't heard word one about that in like a year.
I know. Okay. Well, Chad, I'm going to give you the last word here. What do you think about this? Are you all about window dressing, or do you think there's something more to it?
No. It's a complete red herring, right? I think if they were doing well from a sales perspective, then there'd probably be a little bit more of a struggle in terms of how to balance the scrutiny with what to do with the portfolio.
Yeah.
Let's say it's really easy. Legal scrutiny plus sagging portfolio, bag it. No brainer, right?
Right.
You know, I would, the final point I would make though, just for all my CPG brethren out there is I think this is an indication, it reinforces the point that like Amazon is not a place to build brands. Right. So when you're actually thinking about your, kind of marketing, brand building type portfolio, like for them, they couldn't even do it themselves. Right. Or other CPG brands. Like it works really well if you have a pricing advantage and you want to create incremental conversion and places to search. Right. We've talked about this on the podcast before, where Amazon is now the #1 search engine for product search. Right. So great, go there for known goods, price advantage, but it's not a brand building mechanism.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a great last point.
All right, let's go to the lightning round. Chad, first question goes to you. Publix recently placed large signs in their stores reminding customers that only service dogs, not emotional support dogs and pets, are allowed in stores. Is there another place that you've been lately where you think these signs should be posted?
This is gonna unfortunately reveal a lot about me. This is gonna be polarizing. Like I'm not a dog person. They don't do anything for me.
And you thought I was gonna get comments about making comments.
Yeah, I know. And more of my family, not my household, are bringing dogs into my life, right? But like, so for me, man, I mean, I'd be good with no dog signs everywhere, quite honestly. And let the hate mail begin.
Yes.
All dogs should just go to heaven for Chad. The Petco listeners are going to be ready to go again.
Oh, boy.
Oh, that was classic.
Thanks for making me do that.
Yeah. No, hey, it was your road.
We appreciate the honesty.
Down it. All right. A recent study by Mintel concluded, quote, while a substantial portion of retail pizza consumers express interest in premium toppings and unique varieties, those concepts are likely to fall flat if the crust isn't right. So, Ben, my question for you is, how do you most like to eat your pizza crust?
This is a pretty easy one for me. Living in Brooklyn, I've got 5 pizza shops, within a stone's throw of my home. So the Brooklyn style, not thin, crispy, but definitely not Chicago deep dish, nowhere near that. The perfect New York slice is, everything for me.
The hand tossed,
I want pizza now.
That's what Schwan's is going for in that whole study they commissioned too. That hand toss feel.
Yum. All right, Ben, you get question number 3 as well. Target has now expanded their Good and Gather line into baby and toddler food. What is one baby or toddler food that you think someone who doesn't buy much baby and toddler food, what do you think is also appropriate for adults to eat?
Do you guys have a crystal ball in my future or something? Because why am I getting
I don't know
questions here? I use them actually for running, and I love them. It's the baby toddler squeeze food, like squeeze packets.
Oh, yeah.
Just easy to eat and digest and get on with the
go-go squeeze.
Yeah, but it's all just
Good answer. Good answer.
Yeah, the quick energy hype. That's great. All right, this next and last question is kind of in that same vein. So RX Bar's new ad campaign is focused on removing the BS in the wellness industry and features actors who look like real people working out in spaces that aren't overly stylized or art directed. So Chad, if you were a campaign spokesperson for RX Bar, what would you be doing in your exercise video, and what would you look like after working out?
I'll be a temporary campaign spokesperson for my workout studio. So I do F45 training. If you've ever heard of that.
Ooh,
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
I guess what I would pick, my studio posted a video of me recently doing a burpee into a pull-up.
Oh,
gosh.
yeah. We're
Fun,
familiar.
Yeah.
But what do I look like afterward? I am a complete sweaty mess. I have actually had to have trainers follow me around and wipe the floor following me. I
Oh my
sweat
God, you're like Chris.
That's
profusely when I
me.
work
Oh.
out.
That's me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really bad.
I just did my first F45 like 3 weeks ago.
Oh, yeah, that's
it
right.
was fun. It was a good time. I like it. It was good.
How
stuff.
many burpees into pull-ups did you get in?
Not a one, actually. No, that's too advanced of a move for me right now. Still, maybe back in the day, but good to know, Chad. Good to know. All right, well, that wraps us up. Happy birthday today to Ava DuVernay, Chad Michael Murray, and to the man I saw hit a home run live in Oakland during his final season in the big leagues, Mr. Cal Ripken Jr. And remember, if you can only read or listen to one retail blog in the business, make it OmniTalk, the only retail media outlet run by 2 former executives from a current top 10 U.S. retailer. Our Fast 5 podcast is the quickest, fastest rundown of all the week's top news, and our twice-weekly newsletter tells you the top 5 things you need to know each day, and also features special content exclusive to us, and we do it all just for you, and we try really hard to make it all fit within the preview pane of your inbox. Yes, we do, and I try really hard. I'm going to go back into my hotel room and do that right after we get off this podcast. You can sign up today at www.omnitalk.blog. Thanks as always for listening in. Please remember to like and leave us a review wherever you happen to listen to your podcasts or on YouTube. And Chad, if people want to get in touch with you, pick the brains of other consultants like you at the A&M Consumer and Retail Group, what's the best way for them to do that?
A couple different ways. You can go to our website, alvarezandmarcel-crg.com. Also find us at Alvarez and Marcel Consumer and Retail Group on LinkedIn. You can reach out to either Ben or I. Appreciate having us on and doing the format this way. It's nice doing it in the same room. Maybe one of these times we'll be with you guys live, although if we're in a bedroom, we'll blur the background.
Yeah, right. Exactly. That would be fun to do this in person.
Blur the background, Chad? Is that you don't? We have an elephant in the room in the back.
There's
so
a literal elephant in the room,
Yes.
Chad. It's an orange elephant in our room. Did you notice it? Yeah, it's kind of crazy back there.
Did notice it.
All right. Well, on that note, on behalf of Chad and Ben, and on behalf of all of us at OmniTalk Retail, as always, be careful out there.
The OmniTalk Fast 5 is brought to you in association with the A&M Consumer and Retail Group. The A&M Consumer and Retail Group is a management consulting firm that tackles the most complex challenges and advances its clients, people, and communities toward their maximum potential. CRG brings the experience, tools, and operator-like pragmatism to help retailers and consumer products companies be on the right side of disruption. And Firework. Firework is the largest video commerce solution built for the world's leading brands. They empower brands with shoppable and live stream video on their own websites where people like to shop. Put your commerce in motion with Firework. You can find out more at firework.com. And SPS Commerce. SPS Commerce is redefining how businesses across the supply chain operate in an omnichannel world. Their experts, tech, and data work together to fuel your growth and deliver for your customers. To find out more, head to spscommerce.com. And finally, Sezzle. Sezzle is an innovative buy now, pay later solution that allows shoppers to split purchases into 4 interest-free payments over 6 weeks. To learn more, visit Sezzle.com.